Hi, welcome to the week where we're going to focus a little bit outside of the textbook and really get you thinking. As we've mentioned through a number of the recordings and lecturettes through this course, the focus has not been around memorization of these models, but really to get you to think really about your leadership style and how these different leadership models may influence you to think differently about how you approach your future leadership style. This will be one of those chapters, which is a model that I've built over the course of the last year and really have started to see some strong response. So let's jump right in. The foundation of this generosity quotient principle really is built around the elements of IQ and EQ, and your intellectual quotient, your math verbal, and you can see it there. Everyone's tested in that. It's a common known tool in terms of assessing book smarts. And then you can really get into your emotional intelligence, which is referred to as EQ. We've referred to that in one of the previous chapters, and that really talks about self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. The idea behind generosity quotient is it takes it to the next step, and it's really defined around one's ability, capacity, and willingness to give. And the three of those are really core to the success, because ability alone could mean that you're taking a malicious approach, and willingness might just send you on this approach that really just isn't effective. So the three really blended in together produce these four main types of giving. One, opportunity; two, ideas; three, time; and four, support. And we'll see a visual that lays that out. But the goal here is, in this post 9/11 world where people want more out of their job than work, it takes it, what people are so attracted to and what's so appealing about charitable work, and puts it into business productivity. You see part of the homework that you're in the research that you're asked to do this week is really about servant leadership. And I'm not going to go into that model in depth here because there are similarities, but there are significant differences. They come from the same cloak, so to speak, but they're made up of very different fibers. And so I'll look for that in your research as you try to compare and contrast the two and see what makes sense for you. The last point around this is it's a very selfless act of setting others up for success more than yourself. The leaders that I've worked with through both for and then within high potential programs, once this point clicks, and defining, going back to our first chapter, the difference between leadership and management, that leadership is all about influencing people to get work done, but management is all about getting work done through others. Well, if you can embed this generosity quotient in both your leadership and your management, what I've seen is the very strong response. You can build significant teams that have both productive approaches as well as very trustworthy, and the focus within the team is really, really strong. Okay, so here are the four roles within generosity quotient. And the way this matrix is built is you can see the four different types of giving are laid on the outside in black, so opportunity, ideas, and time, and support. On the inside there's four cells which basically say if you are a giver of opportunity and ideas, you're a catalyst. If you're a giver of ideas and time in the bottom right, you are a coach. If you are a giver of support and time in the bottom left, you are a confidant. And if you are a giver of support and opportunity in the top left, you are in fact a champion. Now the definitions of these words, these four words, are somewhat self-explanatory in that it just really embeds those two types of giving. We will talk about the model in the next part of this lecturette in more detail, but this is the crux of one of your assignments for this week, is to take this quote-unquote self-explanatory approach to different types of giving and see where people stand with that, where leaders, interview 5 leaders and see where they stand with that. So let me give you a quick example of each. The catalyst might be someone that says, hey, have you ever thought about doing something like this? maybe that person had more insight into your business or your type of work than you do, but they did not feel so insecure, and there's a lot of build around this model with security. They did not feel so insecure that, or they felt more commitment to the team or your success than they did to their own, where they said, hey, I have this idea on this index card, I'm going to give it to you, why don't you run with it? So that's the first type. The coaching piece is around giving ideas and time, and it's really about helping you improve your performance. So, you've always approached this by, using methodology X. Have you ever thought about doing it with methodology Y? I've noticed from the sideline that you struggle at this point, and so there's an example of coaching. The confidant is support and time. Really an interesting approach with the confidant, probably the least self-explanatory of the four. The confidant is that protected sounding board. That's one of those spaces where you might say you're about to go start a new major initiative and you're thinking, all right, who can I talk to before I start down this path to make sure that I'm not missing anything? And so you go meet with Jane or Joe and say, Jane or Joe, I need a cup of coffee. I'm about to head down this massive project, and I need your insights to really, create an environment where you can confide in them and saying, here's where I'm thinking of going, almost like an advisory board, if you will. There may be times in that conversation where there's coaching that comes in, or there may be times where the catalyst comes in, but you reach out to that person specifically for support and time. And thus you can see the four of these aren't mutually exclusive. They do create some overlap. And the last one is a champion. So let's go back to the first idea of catalyst, and let's say you get that index card idea and you're about to jump onto it, and you know that you need someone that's more senior or more connected and networked within the organization than you to kind of say, this is a good idea. This index card is a good idea. Not this index card is my idea, but this index card is a good idea. Champion helps create fans for you and for your idea. And so let's dig a little deeper into the model. A lot of this really stems from my Jesuit education and just taking what I know that I was taught within my time at St. Joseph's University and applying it to leadership. And there were three or four main principles. Three main principles were the first three that if people ask me what's a Jesuit education stand for, the first one being men and women with and for others. You're about serving others, and the second one is around that care for the person. But the third one is really what's helped me professionally in my career, which is exactly why I've emphasized it within this program. This is not about accumulation of information. This is about application. This is about taking one side of the fence here. This is about having an opinion and being able to back it up with logic. And so you see, I did a little research online, and the first guiding principle is that curriculum is not about, it's about formation. Formation for me as a young man when I was on campus at Hawk Hill, and not just information. And the second principle is that it's really about a study to be intensive rather than extensive. And so, our hope in designing this course and our thought in designing this course is that, by opening up your eyes to various different ways of approaching leadership, you're not going to memorize and say, well, point A is this and model B is that and theory C is this. You will have a very strong comprehension of what the different aspects of leadership are, and better yet, you will understand yourself better as a leader as a result of this. So let's look at the 5 components of generosity quotient, and really you can see it's centered around accelerate magis, moves into personify authenticity, drive inclusivity, inspire trust, and manage empowerment. The way this visual is displayed is that, yes, it does all center around the core of accelerate magis. And so let's go into a slide that gives you, we'll give you one slide on each of these levels to give you a deeper understanding. All right, first one, connect more people and more ideas to produce more good. And so the focus there is the magis, the Latin and magis kind of teaches you more for the greater good of others. it gets into that what-if visionary focus. It brings out that critical thinking, and it really creates an opportunity to use your systems thinking, the relationship between different things, and how can I create more good. If we did this and connected it with that, or if we introduced this person to that person, it would produce more good. All right, the second one is professional authenticity, which is being consistent and transparent with your intentions, knowing who you are and bringing that to the table, and recognizing that you're looking to create a sense of actions in your words, balance between the pride and humility, and that last point's key. Eliminate relationships that question your authenticity. So you're looking to bring and include people that you can trust and trust you, and you don't have to be a different person. There's no chameleon-like effect within this professional authenticity. So you start with the more for the good of others and the magis, and then you really bring the truth of who you are to the forefront and include others that fit into that model. And then that feeds right in here, drive inclusivity. Partner with others to exponentially grow and scale the leadership. This is based off of that premise that you can't do it all yourself, and that you have to generate excitement and passion and bring people into your team that both appreciate you, the person, and the work that you're about to do. Once you do that, you now have more people en masse around this magis of producing more good, more people, more ideas. And so the key element here is to maintain that trust. And it stems from that professional authenticity, but you could have professional authenticity, be more inclusive, and not drive trust. So we've layered level 4 as creating trust. Listening is a key element here, what the others are saying and how they are feeling. This is not about your idea exclusively. This is about including others and making your idea better. Delegate decision making and maximize the spotlight on you is about really getting others involved and using that approach to generate more strength. It's the power of numbers here. And the last one is manage empowerment. So you bring that empowerment in, you bring that trust in, you bring that team of numbers in, and if you can't manage that volume, and you have to decide what the right amount of people to bring in is it 5 people, is it 55 people, is it 555 people? You know what you can manage, but at some point you can grow things out to be more powerful than you might be able to manage. And I just watched The Social Network movie this weekend, and there's a lot of elements to you see the science of social networking and crowdsourcing, and really a lot of that plays into this leadership style here. So as we kind of bring it home in this lecture for the week, again, use this model to do your 5 interviews of leaders and see if you can get some examples. Don't make it a linear conversation around one cell versus another, because they do potentially, surface themselves in different ways. But should talk to leaders about how they see this happening in their lives, in their professional lives, and then do your best to make sense of it. Take those 5 interviews and start to draw out some of the common points, any of the confusion points, and wrap your opinion around what you find with that discussion. As with the chapters in the book, we talked about the strengths and the risks, so I figured that I would add that in here as well. So the strengths of the model here: positions good as profitable, and it fosters that work environment rooted in inclusion and empowerment, and just creates a great place to work. It is centered on trust, and so people really thrive off of that, and it appeals for those that want more than just work out of their job. The challenges, as you can imagine, it's not yet empirically based in research. We're working on that, but it's not there yet. And it can present challenges for people that are naive, whether they be naive to systems and or politics, and may not be appropriate for every environment, especially some aggressive, capitalistic, for-profit environments. So just something to think about as you interview the folks.